greetings to our ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary babies out there, because there are some. Welcome to yet another episode of Live from the CRJ, the official podcast of the Dillon University Center for Racial Justice. My name is Lawrence Weber, and I am the project assistant. Here in spirit is Miss Tia Suggs, who is out on assignment. She's always doing something, and we love her for it. But we have a very special guest today, and I will let her go ahead and introduce herself, because I know she's chomping at the bit. She's a little nervous, but it's okay. It is all right.
Hello. My name is April Winder, and I am the regional organizer for the Southern Poverty Law Center in the New Orleans office. And I'm glad to be here.
Wonderful. And we are absolutely glad to have you here. So let's talk a little bit about SPLC, because I know, as we were saying beforehand, I feel like everybody kind of knows the Southern Poverty Law Center, right, but doesn't necessarily know the Southern Poverty Law Center and everything that you guys do. So if you can give us just kind of a definite overview as to what you guys do and how you help the community out.
Absolutely. So the Southern Poverty Law Center is definitely a civil rights organization. Our hub is in Montgomery, Alabama, but we do have offices in New Orleans, Miami, Florida, Atlanta, Georgia, Jackson, Mississippi, and we have a policy office in D.C. Now, what is Southern Poverty Law Center, SPLC? We have 4 things we focus on, and that is eradicating poverty, ending mass incarceration, protecting voting rights, and dismantling white supremacy. So under those 4 umbrellas, we can have work going on with the different departments we have in our legal department, as well as the policy work we do. In the legal department, you have children's rights, you have immigrant justice, LGBTQ plus rights, criminal justice reform, and economic justice. So when you take all of those different umbrellas and you put them under eradicating poverty, ending mass incarceration, protecting voting rights, and dismantling white supremacy, we have a lot of work that we do across all of our states.
Absolutely. And you guys have your work cut out for you, especially within the last few years.
Absolutely.
As in the last 3 years, we have seen, unfortunately, poverty sadly skyrocket, with inflation being really heavy. Unfortunately, we've seen that skyrocket. We've seen unfortunately, a lot more attacks on not only people of color, but also people of the LGBTQ community, with more policies being enacted against them. Absolutely. As well. And on top of that, we have even more intolerance when it comes to anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, with the Israel-Hamas war that is currently going on. So, for lack of a better term, how do you guys keep everything going? Because it's a lot, and it's extreme.
It is definitely a lot. I'll start there. But our CEO, Margaret Wong, she is very in tune with what is going on, and she gives us space to work in community as needed and as we see fit. So like in New Orleans, I started out in children's rights, so I was super in tune with like everything that was going on in the schools and with children and whatnot. But then we all came together and realized a special need for policy, because all of this, everything that happens starts with policy, right?
Absolutely.
The laws that determine or govern homelessness and insurance. Like here in Louisiana, Listen, we're not about to talk about that insurance.
I'm not sure if anybody. I'm glad you can't hear it, but my eyes crossed just now,
right?
because I too have been like, you walk around, see anybody, raise your hand if you've been victimized by Louisiana citizens.
Listen, the impacts of insurance. The laws that come down that are atrocious to the LGBTQ community plus community. Mm-hmm. All of this, it revolves in policy. So I'm so grateful that we are working now with policy a lot more. Our policy department has grown. Like I said, we have an office in DC now, but all of our offices, throughout all of our states in the South, now have policy teams, and the work we do it's simply amazing. It is a lot, and sometimes the capacity level, is it there? It can really mess with your mind because you don't realize, like, they really have people out here that are trying to hurt people by the policy they create. And that's so unfortunate, but you still have people like us who are definitely rooting for change for our people.
Now, I think what would be the one big misconception that the Southern Poverty Law Center has a tendency to get more often than not?
So when most people think about SPLC, they think about the hate work that we do, because we do have a map that identifies hate groups throughout the entire United States. And so whenever there is something bad that happens, of course, people will bring up, the Southern Poverty Law Center identified this group and whatnot. And in some cases, testimony has been given and whatnot. That is great to identify those groups because we definitely everybody needs to be pointed out. Listen, you're doing wrong, we're going to point you out.
Exactly.
But we do so much more in the community. Like myself as an organizer, there have been things that have happened in New Orleans that I've identified just as a person who lives in New Orleans and was able to bring that to the table. And we either had litigation or there was some type of activity that was taken to work with whatever, like, for instance, the schools that were closing in Jefferson Parish. We had a significant, it was so amazing, the work that we were able to do with the Washington Elementary School. I know at one point in time, SPLC had a case against the bail bonds in New Orleans, because we all know how bad the bail bondsmen are in New Orleans. And that was done with economic justice. There are like a plethora of things that SPLC does, and we always work with our partners in the community, the Urban League, Power Coalition, and Black Voters Matter, other ones that I'm drawing a blank on right now. But, most of those organizations who have a big name, we're there. But again, we're known mainly for the hate work that we do, but there's so much more. And if you want to reach out to anybody at SPLC, you can go to splc.org and pull up the offices. You can contact me, April.Winder at SPL Center. And I'll be more than happy to pass you along to anybody, especially if there's work that needs to be done in our community for our people.
Okay. Now, here is where I wanted to go next. Let's talk about some of the things. Let's get local. Let's talk about some of the things that SPLC has been doing here in the New Orleans area. What have they been doing within the community that you are particularly proud of?
Okay,
amongst everything else.
Yeah. Right. Well, one of our main focuses is protecting voting rights, and I'm proud to say that we are growing we're growing with the faith community, and so I'll say this: had it not been for the church, the civil rights movement would not have been as strong as it was.
Absolutely.
And I 100% believe that that is where we should definitely get back to, right? Most people have their own ideas and views about attending church all on its own. But if we can get to a point where, okay, we have our ministers who are, and our pastors and our faith leaders who are leading this thing in voting, then we can move mountains, right?
Absolutely.
And I really believe that. So I've been growing and establishing relationships with local faith leaders so that they can equip the saints, is what they normally say in the church. So they can equip the saints so they can take the information from the Southern Poverty Law Center, again, Black Voters Matter, Power Coalition, the Urban League, and we're all there, and we give sound information. All of this is nonpartisan because we cannot tell you who to vote for,
Exactly.
but we're definitely going to make sure you understand that if you vote for this happens. If just understanding simple things like the constitutional amendments that are always on the ballots. Just voter education is super important to me, because if you don't know what's on the ballot, first of all, that may cause you to not think your vote is going to matter when it actually does. So protecting voting rights for me is very important. Now, like I said, SPLC, we do work in economic justice all the time. Children's rights is super, they are phenomenal. They do a lot of work. Like I said, just with the situation with the Jefferson Parish schools, closing all of those different schools and in marginalized communities, we were able to work with the Washington Elementary and help to preserve, because it is a historic site. At one point in time, it was the only school in Kenner who educated Black people. So, and I don't know the exact year, but it's been around for a very, very long time. And that was one of the schools that was slated to close. I do believe it did close, but the school is now trying to get the building, because the building in itself holds a historic value.
Gotcha.
So it's just different things like that. And like I said, well, for an SPLC, we don't necessarily do direct representation. So that means, like, if you yourself had a problem and you needed an attorney, we wouldn't be able to represent you directly. But if there's something that's going on that's going to impact the entire community, where, and you might think of it as like a civil, a class action, that's the type of work we do. So that's more like class action.
Gotcha. Well, so let's talk about voting rights and protecting against voter suppression,
Right.
which has been a very big issue within the last couple of years. For a lot of us, especially here in Louisiana, we all know that in order to vote here in Louisiana, you do have to have an ID. Because of that, do you see that there are other tactics for voter suppression in Louisiana? Because one of the main issues, especially with voter suppression, is that, okay, for many people, they will add the voter ID on there and then like close various offices in various places. We know what places we're talking about, various places, in order to keep certain people from voting. Usually, unfortunately, those are usually people of color. Those are usually low-income people, people who would vote who they would expect to vote a certain way. Do you see those tactics popping up here in Louisiana, or do you fear that those tactics may pop up here in Louisiana?
They absolutely do. They 100% exist. We partner with the LDF, Legal Defense Fund, and they are instrumental in providing different classes that teaches you how to recognize that. So if there's any issue, any kind of issue when you go to vote and you realize somebody may be experiencing an issue because of their ID, or the polling location has changed, which happens often, because you have to realize whenever we have any type of natural disaster, that's one of the first things they'll do is change the polling location and not notify the person. So you're going this place, and really and truly, you're supposed to be going all the way over here. And in some cases, that travel distance will cause you to be like, well, no, I'm just not going to go and vote.
Exactly.
And that's problematic because, again, like you said, they will do this to marginalized groups. They will also, they'll make sure it happens to people who they expect to vote a certain way. And again, that's problematic. So we have there's always training that comes about. Like I said, LDF, they do an awesome training to help people identify these things as they're happening. And they also provide information as far as like a telephone number or whatnot you can call on the spot. So if you have someone that's experiencing any of these atrocities, they can call and say, hey, this is going on at this polling site. Y'all may want to have somebody come to let these folks know that their rights are definitely being violated.
Absolutely. Now let's talk a little bit about the flip side of that, which is voter intimidation. Do you see many cases here in Louisiana for voter intimidation? I don't, and see, maybe that is my ignorance when it comes to that. I just feel like if I go into a polling place, who gonna sit in here and intimidate me? How? And maybe that's the thought of a lot of other people. It's like, who's gonna intimidate me to vote one way or another? They're not in the booth with me. Right. They're not here they're not inside of the booth. They cannot tell who I voted for and who I didn't vote for. Can you tell us a little bit more about voter intimidation and how necessarily that works? I mean, it's a little, and I think I'm going off of my own personal confusion. Like, but if you're going in there by yourself,
right? Well, New Orleans is its own little hub, right? New Orleans is blue. We're definitely blue,
very much so,
within a red state. But when you go to the rural places, and you might see that police officer that's standing there, or they have people who, by right, should feel intimidated when they go to certain places, especially in rural Louisiana. And that's just one of those things, historically it's happened, and they have so many things that are happening that you wouldn't think it would be happening now, but it is happening. So there's always that fear of, oh, I'm going to do this, and they might follow me to my car and start asking me questions and whatnot. That's not supposed to happen. I don't know that it has happened, but just like you, in my mind, this is a possibility. So, I may be afraid to go and cast my ballot, but again, like you said, when I go and step into that booth and I close that curtain, that's my voice.
Exactly.
That is my voice. So I'm going to vote my voice, and I'm going to hurry up and get back to my car. I'm going to hurry up and get back to my car, and hopefully, you won't feel intimidated to go and vote your voice.
Exactly. Let's talk about the city. What would you like to see more of the SPLC doing within New Orleans itself?
Within New Orleans itself. Whew. So I represent SPLC And I'm excited for the work we do with young people. I still believe, just like people believing in the saints, singing, I believe in our young people.
Absolutely.
They are absolutely beautiful. They're educated. They're smart. They're talented. They're super talented. And I just feel like if they have the right person love on them and pour into them, that they will be unstoppable. So the work that we are currently doing and slated to do within the very, very near future with young people is something that I'm super excited for.
Absolutely. And like I said, many of them, and I harken back when I was a substitute teacher, and they gave me all parts of the business. My goodness, they gave me all parts of the business. But just one day I had a tendency to just walk past and see okay, these are our high performing students, and each and every one of them that were on that high performing level were the ones who were making the most noise and causing the most trouble in my classroom. So I'm like, you are intelligent. You are quite smart. You know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You just bored. That's
they
what
need
it
a
is.
challenge. That's what I was about to say. They just need a challenge.
You're
That's it.
Just bored.
That's it. That's all.
And we were talking earlier that usually, especially with young people, just a little push in one way or another may give them the incentive of what they may want to do. I mean, I was speaking, like I said, by trade. All of our live from the CRJ fans. By trade, I am a performer. I'm an actor and a filmmaker, but but I'm here with the CRJ, and I love the CRJ too. It can all mix together. It's all part of one interesting little pot. But growing up, I had a teacher who constantly sent us to operas and theatrical performances and the symphony and us little kids running around, us little New Orleans kids running around. He's like, we're going to the symphony,
right?
Like I saw La Boheme at 15, so I'm like, okay, this kind of makes sense. Oh, the words are from, okay, that makes sense. But the more that we got into it, the more interested we became. Then she took us one day to see The Wiz here at Dillard University back in, and we got to sit down and talk to the actors afterwards.
Amazing.
And the one thing that they were saying is like, this is a career. And I'm sitting here thinking, people pay you to do this.
Exactly.
And you could do this for the rest of your life. 2 years later, I was a freshman theater major here at Dillard University.
Listen, as an organizer, I love it because my job is literally to go out and get the tea. I have to go and find out what is going on in the community. But I just don't, I won't stop there. We're going to take this and then we're going to see how we can help to change effectively.
Absolutely.
Okay. And create the change so that it remains, not something that is just temporary, right? And to empower people to do the same thing. So I absolutely love my job and organizing. And, I tell my kids all the time, I say, I'm New Orleans all day long, 100%, I love a good second line. I love crawfish season because I'm waiting to go get me some crawfish now. I want 4 pounds of crawfish, a turkey neck.
Oh, there you go.
Listen, okay, a pineapple big shot.
Oh, wow.
And my something sweet, because you always thinking, I need that little something sweet. I want a piece of pecan candy.
There you go. There you go.
So, but I absolutely love the fact that, the culture we have here is like none other. It's really and truly like none other. And the people we produce, the people that New Orleans produces, like we can go anywhere in the world, but we just have to make sure our children are where they're supposed to be so they can do that. Absolutely. So they can go anywhere and say, oh, I'm from New Orleans. Oh, you from New Orleans? First thing they probably going to want to talk about is Mardi Gras food.
That too.
That Mardi Gras food. But, you know, we hold that. That is like a treasured jewel that we hold just being from New Orleans. So I really and truly want to pour into my young people. I love my young people. Pour into my young people and let them see that, you know, second line's not going nowhere, and you can leave, but you can always come back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We and like I said, I usually say I don't toot my own horn because it's usually off key. But I've been quite a number of places, and things will stop when they say, "Oh, I'm from New Orleans."
Absolutely.
So, I mean, LA. I said it constantly. Toronto. They were like, "Oh, really? That sounds so nice." I mean, and like London, Paris. I mean, all of these places, they know what New Orleans is, and they are quite surprised and interested to find out. But it's good to give, especially our young people, give them some additional things. Yeah. We love New Orleans. We love second lines. We love all of that. And that is going to be here. Let's experience something else.
Yep.
Let's experience different things, different places, different people, different languages, and bring that back and make that part of the culture too.
Absolutely. And definitely go other places and let them know loud and proud you're from New Orleans.
There you go.
Because, you know, you never know what they might have you cooking. You might be, you know, dancing. You might be doing art. There's so many different things you might be doing. But
and I'll just say, as somebody who is a former Californian, there are a ton of us in LA. Ooh, there's a ton of us. I ain't never seen so many Creole people since here. And it's funny because I'm like, oh, y'all know how to do this too? Well, yeah, I'm from Louisiana. Well, I'm from Louisiana too. Where are you from? New Orleans? Oh, what high school did you go to?
You already know that's the next question. You already know that is definitely the next question.
First of all, Miss April, thank you so very much for joining us. Where can they find you, and where can they find more information about SPLC?
Yes. So the SPLC, splc.org. And you can find me. I'm April Winder. That's April, APRIL .Winder, WINDER at splcenter.org.
Thank you so very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And for those of you who are listening to us, whatever episode this is, because I'm not sure yet, and I'm going to figure out very soon. I may have lost count. Please don't judge me. But again, if you want to follow us more, or you can follow us on Twitter, because I refuse to call it X.
You know what?
I refuse to call it X. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter. And I believe on Facebook as well. We are CRJ_DU. That is CRJ, Center for Racial Justice _DU. If you would like to talk to us or like any questions, do you have any questions about racial justice or something or anything, go ahead and listen to us and email us at ducenterforracialjustice@gmail.com. But until next time, Miss April, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
As of course. Until next time, I am Lawrence Weber, your project assistant, and I really appreciate you listening. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you later.